If you're an entrepreneur, you know the digital world is everything. It's how you build, how you market, how you scale. But let's be real, it's also a total minefield of threats. So today, we're going to cut through all that complexity and turn it into a clear, actionable strategy. We're going to build your digital shield. This right here, this is the big question every founder has to ask themselves. The very tools that let you reach the entire planet, well, they also expose you to risks that can completely cripple your business before you've even had a chance to really get going. So how do you manage that? How do you flip that script and turn the threat back into an opportunity? Okay, first things first, we have to understand the battlefield. And the digital world, it truly is a double-edged sword. On one side, you've got this incredible potential for growth. But on the other, you're opening the door to a whole new world of dangers that honestly just didn't exist a decade ago. What's so wild when you look at it this way is the direct line you can draw between the good stuff and the bad stuff. I mean, think about it. You get global market reach overnight, and poof, you're instantly a target for cyber attacks. You use all this amazing customer data to make smart decisions, but that comes with the huge risk of data breaches. Even something as great as remote work introduces the biggest variable of all, people making mistakes. Every single advantage has a shadow. This really puts it in black and white, doesn't it? On one hand, you can launch your business and boom, reach customers all over the world. But on the other hand, that exact same visibility means you're now on the radar for attacks coming from anywhere at any time. They are two sides of the very same digital coin. So, when you're faced with that kind of constant threat, what do? You don't back down, you get smart. You need a playbook, a clear, repeatable framework for handling these risks so you can get back to what you do best, growing your business. And that playbook has a name, Digital Risk Management, or DRM for short. Now don't think of this as some one-and-done checklist. It's a living, breathing process. It's a practical way to constantly look at the threats your business is facing and make smart, focused decisions on how to deal with them. And this whole process, it breaks down into four really logical stages. First, you identify the threats, what could actually go wrong. Second, you assess them. How likely is this to happen? And if it does, how bad is it going to be? Third, you treat them. This is where you actually do something about the risk. And finally, you monitor. Well, everything, because this whole landscape is changing all the time. Now, when we talk about treating a risk, a lot of it comes down to some really basic blocking and tackling, using secure cloud platforms and keeping all your software patched and updated, making sure everyone uses strong authentication. That's multi-factor authentication or MFA. Encrypting your data, of course. And this one is huge, the principle of least privilege. It just means people only get access to the information they absolutely need to do their job, and nothing more. Seriously, these aren't just suggestions, they are the absolute bedrock of your defense. But here's the twist. You can have the best walls, the best locks, the best defenses in the world, and something can still get through. Prevention is absolutely critical, but it's not foolproof. And that's why we have to shift our focus from just managing risk to building true digital resilience. And here's where it gets interesting. It's kind of a paradox, right? The very digital tools that create all these new risks are also the keys to becoming more resilient. Just like Dr. Hanana's research shows, things like cloud infrastructure and data analytics, they aren't just the source of the problem. They're actually what allow a business to adapt and survive when things go sideways. So what even is digital resilience? Honestly, it's your ability to take a punch. It's knowing that a disruption is going to happen. It's not a matter of if, but when, and having the plans in place to anticipate it, adapt to it, and most importantly, recover from it fast so you can keep the lights on. A huge part of resilience is protecting your data. And the easiest way to wrap your head around that is the simple but super powerful 3-2-1 rule. It all starts with 3. You should always have at least 3 complete copies of your critical business data. Not 1, not 2, 3. Next up, 2. Those 3 copies, they need to be stored on at least 2 different types of media. So for example, you could have one on your server's hard drive and another one on a totally separate external drive. Why? Because it protects you if one kind of hardware just completely gives up the ghost. And finally, 1. You have to have at least one of those copies stored off-site. And look, in today's world, that pretty much always means in the cloud. This is your ultimate insurance policy against a physical disaster. A fire, a flood, even a theft at your office. So remember, Three, two, one. It's simple, it's memorable, and it is absolutely essential. All right, so we've talked a lot about tech and processes, but we've kind of skipped over the most unpredictable wildcard variable in any security plan. It's the one thing that's responsible for a giant chunk of security failures: people. Look, your team can be your greatest asset, but they can also be your biggest vulnerability. We're talking about everything from a simple unintentional error, like an employee who's having a busy day and clicks a bad link, all the way to a malicious insider who's actively trying to steal company secrets. The good news is, you can do something about this. It all comes down to regular, engaging training, having ironclad procedures for when people leave the company, and building a culture where everyone's default setting is to verify, verify, verify. Okay, so theory and frameworks, they're all great. But to really see how these pieces either come together or completely fall apart, we have to look at a real-world disaster. And the 2013 Target data breach, well, it's basically a masterclass in what happens when digital risk management goes systemically wrong. This wasn't some head-on assault against Target's main servers. No way. The entire breach, one of the biggest in history, it all started with something that seems totally random and low risk: a third-party vendor who managed their heating and air conditioning. I'm not kidding. And the fallout was just staggering. The attackers got away with the payment information for over 40 million customers. Let that number sink in. 40 million. That single number just shows you the catastrophic damage that can come from one single overlooked vulnerability. So how does this horror story connect back to our playbook? Well, let's connect the dots. First, risk assessment. It completely failed. They just didn't properly assess the risk from a simple vendor. The lesson for you have to map every single digital access point into your business. Second, the principle of least privilege. It failed. That HVAC vendor had way too much access to their network. The lesson: isolate your critical systems. Segment your network. Third, monitoring. It failed. Believe it or not, their security alarms actually went off, but the alerts were ignored. A tool is worthless if no one is watching it. And finally, digital resilience. It failed. It took them way too long to detect and contain the breach. Your lesson: your response plan has to be built for speed.
The digital world gives every single one of us the tools to build something incredible. The opportunities really are limitless. But with great opportunity comes great risk. The Target story proves that nobody is too big to fail, and that the first crack in the armor can come from the place you least expect. So the final question is for you. You've poured your heart and soul into building your business. Have you taken the time to build it